Hello, hello. My name is Thomas Grigley, and you're tuning in to FloQast webinar Best Practices for the Month-End Close, where I'll be reviewing how accounting teams who leverage dynamics can shorten the month-end close and streamline the audit by implementing tips and tricks around people, processes, and technology. By the end of this session, my hope is that if you're an accounting team member, you'll have some tangible takeaways that you can put into practice, whether you're a FloQast client or not. And if you're a Microsoft consultant, my hope is you can keep these tips and tricks in mind for the next time you're trying to help a client out who needs to shorten the month-end close or audit. With this in mind, if you have questions about how FloQast would work for you or how you could begin using FloQast as a value-add offering to clients, please email me at thomas@flowcast.com and we can connect. Now, if you're not familiar with FloQast, we're a provider of accounting collaboration, automation, and close management solutions. Created by accountants, FloQast offers a suite of easy-to-use and quick-to-deploy applications, which automate mundane tasks, improve team collaboration, and increase overall team efficiency. Seamlessly integrating with Dynamics and leveraging the tools accountants use every day, such as Excel, FloQast's cloud-based applications let accountants focus on what matters most, helping the business make better decisions. One of our core deliverables is helping the Office of the CFO shorten the month-end close and audit. And aside from our founders, Mike and Chris, about 50% of FloQast employees are actually former accountants. So when we say we're by accountants for accountants, it's true. And this is a big reason for our success. One way to think of FloQast is actually a software provider whose offerings incorporate best practice techniques that a consultant might otherwise charge you for right into our solutions. Now, to date, we have over 1,400 customers and have the highest customer satisfaction ratings across all financial applications on G2 Crowd, which really speaks to the power and usability of our products. Before we dive into our discussion around how to make the month-end close more efficient, let's talk about what we mean by the close. Now, most of our audience already knows this very well, maybe more than they want to, but just to be sure we're aligned in our understanding of what is part of the close and how it can be improved, let's describe it. The close is a process that includes disparate systems and multiple team members. The end goal is to ensure accurate reporting in a timely manner and eventually a blemish-free audit. Fundamentally, what we're doing is making sure that what is in your GL is a true representation of the company's financial health. This might sound simple to folks not responsible for the close, but lots of processes need to happen for this to be successful, such as adjusting journal entries, reconciliations, flux analysis, consolidations and eliminations, and reporting. And these processes need to happen in a very short time frame to be able to issue accurate financial statements quickly at the end of the month or quarter or year. And as you might expect with multiple processes squeezed into a short time frame, problems arise and fire drills naturally occur because it has to get done. It has to be finished by the accounting team on time. So stress levels rise, life events are often missed due to long work days, and it's the accounting team who ends up suffering. And over time, the month-end close can and often does become a dreaded process, and quite frankly, the worst part of the month for the accounting team. Now, we did a study with dimensional research to mid-market accounting teams to gauge how accountants viewed their close. And we learned that 3 out of 4 accountants were not confident in their close process. And 78% of companies had to actually reopen their books after the close. And reopening your books and digging through past periods is not only a burden, but for many companies, the mistakes leading to reopening your books can be very costly. Now, these results make it clear that the month-end close is a common pain for accounting teams. We're going to discuss some best practices and technology that can help your accounting team not only close faster, but also more accurately and with greater confidence in the numbers, and hopefully help reduce that pain. Now, to discuss improvements to the close, we need to look at the separate elements that comprise it. At FloQast, we define these as the people, processes, documents, and of course, reconciliations. However, before we take a deeper dive, I do think it's important to acknowledge that COVID-19 has impacted all of this. What was hard about the close before has become even harder during the pandemic. Add remote work into the mix, and now you have reduced visibility, reduced efficiency, and increased risk for error. I know all of these elements of the close have been impacted by the new remote or hybrid work environment, but I do sense that the people element of the close is probably the most important and has been impacted the most. Team collaboration that is central to a successful close is much more difficult with remote work. So let's talk through a few best practices around how to properly support your people in today's work environment to get the work done in a timely manner. When we were working together in the office, the daily interaction made asking questions of your team much easier. There was a lot more cross-functional talk between team members, and getting status updates was not difficult. Today, where some or all of your team may be working from home, team members may be working different hours, plus dealing with the distractions of home. Leaders have to make more of a conscious effort to drive team collaboration as well as accountability, and to build a remote work culture and ethic. Technology provides the big lift here to drive that collaboration and communication, not just Zoom, but also Teams and Slack. And one tangible first step you can take, even if you're not a FloQast client, is implementing weekly or biweekly status update meetings with Zoom or Microsoft Teams. You can also create a Slack or Microsoft Teams channel specific to the month-end close to make it a little easier for team members to chat back and forth about the processes they're working on. With this said, these are not end-all be-all solutions, but they will help. This past year, we've seen a surge in interest in cloud software specifically designed to help manage the month-end close. As many companies switched to remote or hybrid work, they've adopted cloud tools like FloQast because it directly provides that visibility, communication, and accountability around the month-end close process that you must have to be successful in a remote work world. In case you haven't seen close management software like FloQast, I wanted to show you the screenshot of the FloQast dashboard. The dashboard identifies what needs to be done, what is coming up, what is late, and tracks success with KPIs. Close management software enables you to easily track the progress of your close by maintaining all your close procedures in a centralized location. Everyone on the team knows exactly what they need to do each day, and this is particularly valuable for a dispersed team. Software like this actually drives a culture of collaboration and accountability, even more important in a remote or hybrid work environment. Next, we'll dive into optimizing your process. It can be very difficult to manage the close and your people effectively if their processes are not well documented. In the survey with dimensional research that I mentioned earlier, we also learned that 71% of accounting teams did not document their month-end close procedures. We've experienced this with our clients, but this survey clearly showed that a lack of documentation of your processes is actually the norm. Each member of the accounting team just knows what they need to do, how to do it, and gets it done. We refer to this as tribal knowledge. A lack of documentation of your processes can cause multiple issues. Critical tasks may be missed or late due to a staff member's absence. Onboarding new staff due to turnover or leave of absences or growth becomes both very difficult and time-consuming. If prepare and reviewer tasks are not clearly distinguished, you may have problems with proper segregation of duties. And key tasks that are infrequent but still needed are too easily forgotten. Now, we recognize that full documentation of all processes may be an overwhelming challenge. To manage your month end, we found that the best practice is to have a collaborative, centralized close checklist of all the procedures that need to be performed across your team. We found that our clients may already have a checklist or multiple checklists, or that each team member has their own checklist. But by creating one full checklist, you're able to get a better understanding of the scope of work throughout the month and where you might have some opportunities to rebalance the workload or do things earlier in the month. When the majority of your tasks are bunched into the close week, the burden of your team is substantial. So moving some of the tasks earlier in the month can drive huge improvements in your close time and make your team much happier and less stressed. When I was talking to Okta's former accounting manager, I actually asked her about the types of tasks that went into the checklist, and she made it a point to clarify that her team ended up documenting everything they did within the checklist. Not only a list of recurring journal entries, but also a list of emailing someone in HR. Something that easy can be forgotten. So you want to be as prescriptive as possible so that if someone is out or there's turnover, the next person can jump right in. Also, once you have all of your tasks documented, You can then take inventory of your procedures and begin making policy tweaks. On this note, we encourage you to set up recurring journal entries in your ERP. We also encourage you to look at billing. Maybe you have a billing cutoff, or maybe if you have a fiscal month, you finalize billing the Thursday before the close. Maybe you book depreciation and amortization the following month from when it happened, so you can book it sooner, right? And have a cutoff on AP. So slight policy tweaks can allow for pre-close procedures and drastic efficiency gains over time. Now, without a centralized checklist of everyone's work, managing a remote or hybrid team can be virtually impossible. Maybe each individual team member knows what they need to do and when, but how does management keep track of progress and gain access to the information and reconciliations that they need? We realize every company's close checklist is going to be a bit different. However, if you don't have one today, you may want to start with our best practice checklist template in Excel, and I can provide that to you as follow-up. If you email me, thomas@flowcast.com, I'll send that over. If you do have multiple checklists, we'd suggest combining them all into a single consolidated list. Compare your checklist with our best practice template to see if there are additional procedures you might want to add. And please do let us know if you have procedures you think we should add to our best practice template. Feedback from clients and prospects is central to how we work at FloQast. To wrap up workflow for today, we've identified a few tangible initial steps that accounting teams can focus on. Still, managing workflow in Excel or a Google Sheet isn't easy. A major value add FloQast brings to accounting teams is our workflow capabilities. We're able to take your stagnant Excel checklist and turn it into an interactive workflow tool that provides complete visibility to all team members involved in the close. This checklist includes real-time preparer reviewer sign-offs with time and date stamps, the ability to document qualitative review or any back and forth communication between the team with our review notes or links to reports. And by having one place to manage the month-end workflow, team members and process owners can filter by things like what should I do next, what's late, what's ready for review. And this eliminates the need for daily status update meetings, long email threads, and helps accountants use their time more efficiently. This brings structure and organization and allows for the clear definition of responsibilities and due dates with visibility around each person's tasks, as well as where the process stands as a whole. Taking advantage of a workflow tool, this adds that efficiency, which almost always results in a faster close, more often than not by multiple days. But moving on to the third element of the close, we have documents. When we say documents, we're referring to those key pieces of evidence essential to the close and how you can organize them for optimal efficiency. Nearly every process, every procedure to complete the close starts and ends with multiple documents: PDFs, emails, Excel schedules, reconciliations in both physical and digital formats. When we share an office space, sometimes we keep those documents in a shared binder. If we've upgraded to all digital formats, the documents are often stored on a shared drive or on each staff person's personal drive. This can work while we share an office space, but still presents challenges whenever multiple people are working on the close. Finding the information you need to complete your work becomes very difficult when there is not one way in place across the team to store documents. Whether it be a controller who is reviewing work for multiple team members across multiple entities and multiple processes, or a staff accountant trying to pick up where a colleague left off, difficulty in finding the most current version of documents negatively impacts both accuracy and timeliness. Add in remote or hybrid workforces, and the difficulty in finding the documents and information you need can quickly derail the entire close. So the best practice for storing your documents is to have a centralized and structured document storage system, easily understood and accessible to everyone on the team. As a tangible first step, we recommend cloud storage to facilitate the work of your remote or hybrid teams. And whether your documents are on the cloud or an internal network shared drive, the best practice we've seen is to organize your folder structure by entity, by year, by month, and then by accounting process, and have one individual on the team assigned to rolling that forward manually on a monthly basis. I mean, at FloQast, we believe so strongly in this that FloQast actually integrates directly with cloud storage providers like Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, Box.com, Dropbox, and Ignite to give the teams instant access to the documents and supporting procedures and reconciliations and trial balance tie-outs. To put the pieces together, our integration with cloud storage providers, links folder structures with checklist tasks, reconciliations, and supporting documentation. You see in the Close the Books tab right in front of you, within FloQast on the left-hand side, you'll notice we're pulling in and mirroring that folder structure that I just described to you from cloud storage. Right now, we're in accrued expenses in this screenshot within the corporate entity and in the March 2020 close, and you'll see tasks, support, and recs for accrued expenses right to the right on the main side of the screen. This is a great view for accountants assigned to a particular process, but there are also central views so that teams can filter across all checklist items and all reconciliations across the entire company or all entities and all accounts. But what's really nice about this particular Close the Books tab is the fact that FloQast is automatically rolling forward the folder structure that you see on the right, the tasks, the supporting documentation, and the reconciliations each month. And without FloQast, this is someone's job on the accounting team. So what this does is it helps accounting teams bake in a repeatable, structured month-end close that can allow for process improvements over time, and has been really crucial for that continuous improvement ideology that accounting teams are trying to adopt. Now, for our last close element, we have reconciliations. In this section, we'll review how to use best practices and technology to improve the reconciliation process. With FloQast being founded by accountants, we believe that Excel is still an essential tool to creating your account reconciliations. We also believe there are opportunities to automate the most manual components of the reconciliation process for various accounts and processes like TB tie-outs, matching, and amortizations. But without further ado, let's dive into specifics. Our first best practice to recommend is to create standard operating procedures for each account reconciliation. I know you all probably just audibly groaned. No one really likes doing this, but it is a key first step in reducing the burden of creating account reconciliations. Having an SOP or standing operating procedure clearly documented has a huge impact on the transitions of work due to turnover, promotions, or leaves of absence, and often enables work to be shifted to more junior staff members. The SOP does not need to be long, heavily detailed document that is hard to maintain. Best practice is to have the first tab in your Excel file list out the steps for the reconciliation preparer and for the reviewer for that account reconciliation. Our second best practice on the reconciliations is to perform a risk assessment on all of your accounts to create a more efficient reconciliation process. Consider whether every account really needs to be reconciled every single month based on the risk and materiality for that account. Evaluate if some accounts that may require substantially more work could be reconciled in detail in off-quarter end months, when the team may have more time. At quarter end, still flux the balance to determine that it's reasonable, but maybe you can adjust that timeline a bit. The next best practice we want to share is to automate your trial balance tie-out. Tracking progress on the close and trial balance tie-out were the two key burdens of the close that our founders identified while they were accountants in industry and in audit. Close management software like FloQast addresses both tracking progress on the close through the checklist, as we discussed earlier, and automating your trial balance tie-out. How? FloQast automates your trial balance tie-out with our integration to your ERP, Dynamics in this case, and our integration into Excel. Your most current account balances from Dynamics are always available directly in FloQast and can quickly be refreshed for late entries. Our integration with Excel reads your Excel file to show the account reconciled balance and compare it to the Dynamics balance to easily identify any differences. What's nice about this is any changes to either your Excel file or from adjustments into Dynamics are quickly displayed in the event and sign-offs are suspended. This actually allows people to begin reconciling earlier because they have that check, that built-in check that'll notify them if anything changes later on in the close. But preparers and reviewers can see when each reconciliation is due what is complete, and what might need to be redone. And management can see how the close is progressing and ensure that all accounts are tied out. In addition, to ensure a full audit trail, reconciliations in the TV tie-out have preparer and reviewer sign-offs with time and date stamps and the ability to leave review notes and materiality thresholds. A close management tool like FloQast brings structure and organization, as well as giving a source of trust that reconciliations are performed properly and in a timely manner. Now, let's look at how technology can help with creating your reconciliations themselves. That last example, we were under the assumption that certain accounts will continue to be done in Excel, and we're going to help automate that TV tie-out portion. Here, we're going to look at how we can actually help perform the rec. So first, let's consider the reconciliations for bank accounts, credit cards, intercompany, or clearing accounts. The most burdensome part of these reconciliations is comparing two sets of transactions to see which transactions have cleared and which have not. For example, comparing the transactions in your ERP for a bank account to the transactions that the bank shows happened during that period. This process is called matching, and it's mostly done in Excel, which frankly is not very good at it. The best practice for this process inside a reconciliation is to use software that can find which transactions match and which do not quickly. FloQast Auto Rec Matching does this matching for you without you having to change your data and without you having to set up and maintain rules. Auto Rec Matching can find one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many matches. And for transactions that do not match automatically, the preparer has an intuitive, easy-to-use screen to find any additional matches. Then Auto Rec Matching creates a full account reconciliation in Excel for you with a clear aging of outstanding transactions. Now let's consider the reconciliations for prepaid expenses and deferred revenue. Many of you may be using functionality in your ERP for amortizing prepaid expenses or deferred revenue. We have seen that this ERP functionality can work very well, but also can be inflexible and difficult to get the full account reconciliation needed to tie out the details to the ERP account balances. Often, to create the reconciliation, even while using the ERP amortization functionality, preparers are recalculating amortizations in Excel. Others either do not have amortization functionality in their ERP or have opted not to use it and are instead calculating the amortization in Excel in the first place. And while Excel's capabilities can shine with this reconciliation, the repetitive nature and structure of this reconciliation makes it a prime candidate for automation. We've seen many amortization schedules in Excel with errors due to the tedious work involved in maintaining these details in Excel. The best practice is to use software which can calculate the amortization, be flexible to changes, and provide the detailed information to tie out to the ERP account balances. FloQast Auto Rec Amortization can maintain all your amortization items and calculate your amortization for you. Changes can easily be made while still maintaining control over prior period entries. And our full Excel reconciliation includes the journal entry to post back into Dynamics, and the roll forward tied out to your ERP account balance, and the waterfall schedule to understand your future amortization. Well, we've covered a lot of material today. So to summarize our session, the major takeaway is to think about how you can help your accounting team collaborate effectively and to leverage technology to help automate processes. I think that the new normal has exacerbated the burdens of the close for small organizations. Companies with larger accounting teams, 6, 10, 20, 30, 50 people or more working on the close process, inherently have a lot of people trying to collaborate on a single end goal, and often from multiple locations. Due to the distance and collaboration needed across the processes, many of these organizations are already leveraging close management software like FloQast to manage their close. Meanwhile, smaller teams of 3, 4, 5 people have historically gotten by with a detailed Excel checklist, stand-up status meetings, and just talented individuals. However, with remote work and hybrid work teams, I think mid-market accounting teams are beginning to feel the burdens that the enterprise accounting teams and those like them have been feeling for a while now. And they're beginning to look for technology to help get their jobs done and improve their close process. And my hope is that you were able to take something away from this session, some tangible takeaways that you can leverage whether you're a FloQast client or not. And if you really resonate with the burdens that we're solving and you're interested in learning more, please reach out to me at thomas@flowcast.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions. In terms of deliverables, if you do reach out as well, I have a best practice month-end close checklist template that you might find valuable. And I also have some best practice month-end close reconciliation templates that I'm able to provide as well. So again, thomas@flowcast.com. I can provide you those deliverables and answer any questions that you may have. But thank you for your time. I really appreciate it and hope you found this valuable.